Or can you understand what the underlying data is? No, right? So reading this visualization itself is sounding very complicated, is looking very complicated. Now you have to try to look at so many different labels, indexes, and you have to try to understand what means what, and even to compare them, it's not very clear. Those pyramid heights, so if you want to compare a pyramid height which is on the left side and to that of the right side, it's not very clear. So you can't make much sense of the data. Rather, it is also becoming a little confused, or it is becoming a little complex to understand the underlying data rather than making it easier. So that's why this is one of the example of a bad visualization, and you can it might look fancy. Now when you just look at it in the first glance, this visualization might seem very fancy and very fascinating, but then it is not serving its actual purpose. What is the purpose of data visualization here? We want to make more sense out of the data in an easy way instead of spending a lot of time churning the numbers, right? But that purpose is not served here. Now this is an example. Let's look at a few other examples. Now this is an example where the data is actually misleading. Sorry, the visualization is actually misleading. Now this particular agency, whatever it is, they have collected information during the COVID-19 crisis. So what they did is they did a survey, and they have made the survey of the biggest worries of people. And the worries of the people were the first, the worry was whether they getting it. So 48% of the people are worried about it, and their family getting it. 62% of the people are worried about that, and other rest 68% of the people are worried about the economy getting halted on a whole. Now, if you look at the pie chart, so we call this a pie chart. If you look at it, so usually when you look at different things in the pie chart, we get a feeling that they sum up to 100%, right? So pi is a whole, and among that you are dividing things. That means it's a part of a whole. Like you get a feeling that the sum will be 100%, but clearly you can see it's 62%, 48%, and 68%. The sum is not 100%. So this is kind of misleading. So this is not the right visualization in order to show the results of the particular survey that they did. Now this is another example of a bad visualization where it is giving a wrong impression about the underlying data. Now this is another example of a bad visualization, because now this again, on the first look, it might look very colorful and very fancy, but say for example, we have this underlying data. Now this is the data about different agencies and their corresponding sale values, sale revenue values. Say for example, it's the sale revenue value. Now on the first look, again, the data looks the visualization looks very colorful. But now if you want to just go into the detail and try to understand what is the company that is having the highest revenue or the highest sale revenue, then you will see that there is this red bar, and when you try to look at the red color on the right side, there are two different red colors, the JKR and the team, and now you are a little confused which one is the highest. Now what's happening? Not just that, there are so many shades of yellow, and you can't clearly distinguish between which agency has what sale value. Now instead of making the underlying data very clear to understand, now the purpose of this visualization was that it will become easier to understand the relative numbers, the relative sale revenues of different agencies. But what happened? The fundamental purpose is completely defeated. Now you are not even able to understand the basic underlying data, that is which agency has how much revenue. So the visualization has obfuscated the data in a way. That means you can't even make sense of the actual data. Leave aside the comparison between different agencies, you can't even make sense of it. So that's how bad this visualization is. So not always a visualization is really good. So these are again a few examples. Now this is another example where the visualization is very, very misleading. You can see here that these are the number of people who are speaking a particular language. So according to this data might be a little old. So according to this data, there are 1026 million speakers of Chinese language. So you can see that, and then there are this 765 million English speakers and 466 million Spanish speakers. So there is this data which is plotted there. But on the right side, they have indicated different bars to indicate the same. Now it is good that, okay, there are a lot of Chinese speakers, so they have put a very big bar, so to make the visualization, so to make us understand that there are a lot of Chinese speakers. But again, if you see the English and the Spanish bars, the visualization that they have created, the bars for the English and Spanish speakers, they're almost the same, right? The length of the bars are almost the same, the size of the bars are also almost the same. Now if you remove the actual data which is printed there, so the 765 and 466 numbers, and if someone just looks at the visualization on the right, it will give a feeling that there are as many Spanish speakers as there are English speakers, approximately the same number. But is that true? No, right? So that this kind of visualization is actually misleading. So it is creating a lie factor in the data. So it is kind of it's not communicating, the visualization is not communicating the actual data, rather it is communicating some lies. So in that way also a visualization can be very bad. So we shouldn't just do the visualization for the sake of creating some fancy visualizations, rather they should accurately represent the underlying data too. So that's very important thing that is missing in this visualization. So this is another example of a bad visualization. Now all the examples that we have seen so far are clearly either very bad visualizations, but sometimes you might come across visualizations like this. Now you can see this is a visualization of the top 3 most popular brands on the Facebook. So on the left side is a visualization, and also on the right side is a visualization. It's a visualization of the same data. So you can see, now the question is, which is better among these two? Now clearly these are not as bad. Both of them are okay. They are not as bad as the examples that we have seen so far, examples of the bad visualization. But even among these two, which is a better visualization? Now that is a question for you to answer. So how do we say which visualization is good and which one is bad? So for that,